Hi, folks. It's Allison from Ascending Spirit. Today, I want to talk about acid reflux. So, in Ayurveda, we talk a lot about digestion, the way that we digest our life, our experiences, emotions, and of course, our nourishment, our food, really contributes to how good we feel. So, in Ayurveda, one of the core tenets is we basically are what we cannot digest. And that means that if you can't digest it, then it stagnates and it creates potentially a blockage or discomfort or dis-ease, also commonly known as disease. And so we talk a lot about our digestive patterns. When I work with somebody that comes in and says, well, I'm experiencing a lot of acid reflux, there could be a number of reasons why. Well, what is acid reflux? Acid reflux is either where the body is producing too much digestive enzymes, too much hydrochloric acid used to break down food, and it's actually creating a situation where there's a lot of inflammation in the GI. Or it could be that the acid is rising back into the esophagus. So there's a very tiny, small, thin layer of tissue between the esophagus and the stomach called the esophageal sphincter. And when that becomes irritated or compromised, the acid comes back up into the esophagus, and we have the experience of distension. We might feel like we can't take a deep breath. It feels like there's a lot of pressure on the diaphragm. And in severe cases, it can actually lead to vomiting, belching, kind of a sour taste in the mouth. And so, acid reflux is extremely uncomfortable, especially if you're experiencing it regularly. Well, what causes it? Number one thing is dehydration. So, when our tissues aren't getting enough water, and it's not just water, because if we drink a lot of water, we actually can deplete our minerals. So, it's not just about getting enough water, it's about the combination of water and appropriate minerals and nutrients to help neutralize that acid. So, if this is my stomach layer and I've eaten a lot of food and I have no mucosa, right? There's no mucus anymore lining this because I am so dehydrated. My tissue is dry. And all of a sudden, your body starts producing all of the, salivary amylase and lipase, and you're getting excited about eating. The acid in your stomach begins to churn, and it's starting to hit and rub up against the delicate lining of the stomach. And so that creates inflammation and can eventually cause ulcers. It can cause leaky gut, all kinds of other interesting conditions because there's no mucus there to contain the acid. And so dehydration is a very big contributor to the reduction or compromising of that mucosa, the mucus lining. It could also be from an overproduction. Maybe your body just creates a lot of digestive enzymes and creates a lot of acid. And so you just have an abundance instead of having just the right amount to be able to take care of digesting the food that you ingest. The other issue could be that maybe you overeat. So this typically happens when people don't have 3 meals a day at regular routine scheduled times. We make poor food choices. We extend the tissue of the belly to where it becomes overly distended, and the food is just pushing and pressing up against the lining of the stomach or the GI tract. And when that happens, the body actually goes into a fight or flight response because it's painful. And so overeating can cause acid reflux as that distension takes place. It presses on the esophageal sphincter and causes the food and the acid to rise back up. Another thing is if you're eating a lot of acidic foods. So things like hot and spicy, peppers, tomatoes, alcohol, these are all extremely acidic. And so they can create more pressure because they're adding more acid into an already extremely acidic environment. So what can we do to help reduce the effects of acid reflux? One is drink plenty of electrolytes. Can't reiterate this enough. We could actually do so much good for our body in a very simple way by drinking plenty of electrolytes. Now, what do I mean by electrolytes? I'm not talking about Gatorade, Powerade, and anything that has a lot of additional artificial flavors, chemicals, sweeteners, things like this. What I'm talking about is something very simple. You could do purified water with pink Himalayan salt. You could do unsweetened coconut water, maple water, adding trace mineral drops to your water. This is all a very simple form of electrolytes. So you're reintroducing minerals so that as you're drinking the water, you're keeping yourself hydrated, keeping those minerals intact. And those minerals are what help to create an alkaline state. So, electrolytes. Another thing you can do is have a pre-digestive before you eat your meal. So, what's a pre-digestive? Well, it's something like ginger or hingvastok, avapodakar, or trickatu. These are all wonderful pre-digestives. You eat them about 15 minutes before you ingest your meal. And what they do is they help to create an environment where your food can be broken down. If you drink, 4 ounces of warm water with pink Himalayan salt with your pre-digestive 15 minutes before a meal, you are creating an environment where the mucosa is well hydrated before you've gotten the acid churning, preparing for digestion. Okay, so pre-digestive. Another thing you can do that's very simple is taking in either ginger turmeric tea or ingesting turmeric milk. So turmeric milk is a wonderful little Ayurvedic treat, and you basically use whatever milk you like. So it could be a nut milk, rice milk, hemp milk, dairy milk. You warm that up, and then you add in this blend. I prefer the Banyan Botanicals or the Kurkuma blends. Those are the ones that I carry here in the store. But it's already a blend that has turmeric and cardamom and some other wonderful spices. You add that into your warm milk. You drink that, and you're basically reducing the inflammation from the inside. So now you've got well hydrated because you're drinking your electrolytes. You've done your pre-digestive, so your stomach is ready for the food that you're about to take in. And you've maybe had some turmeric milk later or throughout the day, or turmeric ginger tea, which will help to reduce the inflammation inside the GI tract as the turmeric goes through. Another thing is regular meal times. Can't stress this enough. This is so important. If you eat between 10 a.m. and 7 p.m. and you do it in regular set times, your body doesn't go into fight and flight or panic about when it's going to get its next meal or when it's going to find, its resources. What happens when we skip that is our blood sugar crashes and our hunger, emotion spikes, and so we grab the nearest thing that we can. Often that's a processed food because it's fast. What a lot of people don't know is that fried foods, refined sugars, ferments such as anything with vinegar in it, kombucha is a ferment, and cheese is a ferment. These things are all so easy to grab when we're hungry, but they actually are extremely acidic, and they put your body right back into that hyperacidic state. So you've added acid to acid. You're probably really hungry, so you're overeating. Now you're creating pressure, which just continues to give you the feeling of the acid reflux. So eating 3 times a day at regular times is extremely important for helping to reduce the impact of acid reflux. Now, if you have done all of these things and you're still experiencing the feeling and the pain that comes with acid reflux, we may need to look at what are your stressors currently in your life. Is it a stressful relationship? Do you have a stressful job? Are you not honoring some aspect of yourself? There's a wonderful book by Dr. Gabor Mate called When the Body Says No. And he spends an entire chapter talking about, things like irritable bowel syndrome. And as part of this chapter, he also discusses the role of acid reflux. And often what happens is when we have stress in our life, we create an environment where cortisol and adrenaline are increasing. These are both extremely acidic hormones. As they enter the bloodstream, they create an environment in the blood that's also acidic. So if you've introduced a bunch of food, if you're not eating regularly, if you're dehydrated, and you're stressed, your body believes that it needs to be in a chronic state of fight and flight. And when that happens, all the resources that would be used for digestion get sent out to the extremities so that you can run or you can hit right? So it's very important to try to figure out how to manage your stress. When you can manage your stress, you reduce the cortisol production, you reduce adrenaline production, you come out of the beta wave brainwave state and move into the alpha theta brainwave state. And this is where the parasympathetic nervous system can take over. Guess what its job is? It's rest and digest. And this is where your body can actually do its best natural healing. So, those are a couple of quick tips and tricks that might help you if you're experiencing a lot of acid reflux. If you continue to have issues, feel free to schedule a call. We can talk about it in more detail. I hope you've enjoyed this, and I'll see you next time. Toodles!